Hey everyone! So this is going to be a tutorial for knee hooping and all of those kind of difficult little tricks that you need to know how to do when you're knee hooping. You know, bring it down to your knees, taking a leg out, putting it back in, bringing it back up, and then different ways of getting out of knee hooping if you are having trouble getting your leg back in or whatever, because initially I definitely did, and I had to kind of find some ways around that. Some other tutorials to check out if you want more help. I think Babs has some good tutorials on like taking a leg out and putting it back in, or like there's a couple that I learned when I wasn't able to just like take my leg out and put it in and then bring the hoop back up again. And it was like I had one leg out, and there's like I don't know, she has a couple of ones that are helpful in those kinds of situations where you just want some different options. So anyway, let's get started. So this will probably be kind of a long tutorial just because it's pretty involved, but stick with it and follow along with me, and that'll probably help you a little bit. So let me pin this down. Okay, so well, first things first, with knee hooping, I would suggest, well, if you're new to this, you're probably going to get some bruises on your knees and it's probably going to hurt really bad. And if you try to practice this over and over and over again, your knee is probably going to get really stiff. And that happened to me when I was learning double hooping. So just be careful, be aware of your limits. This is an HDPE, like 33-inch hoop, in case you're wondering. It has some gap on the inside. Gaff is awesome for knee hooping, so is duct tape, like really chewy, like old duct tape. You want something that's gonna really like stick to your legs or your pants or jeans or whatever. I think gaff and jeans is probably the easiest combination. I actually don't think it's that easy to hoop on with bare legs. Well, I don't know. Gaff is probably just like your best option in general, but just be aware that you're going to want a little bit bigger of a hoop so you can move slower, and you just kind of have to be careful when you're starting, and just try some different hoops and see what works. So where I'm going to start with this is at the waist. So bringing the hoop down, what I think is going to help you in the long run, and I'm going to teach this going to spinning to the left, so if you spin to the right, just kind of do the opposite of what I'm doing, because you'll be using your right leg, you'll be using your left leg instead of your right leg. Okay, so have the hoop going. Basically, I think one of your best options for learning how to get more comfortable with knee hooping is to see how long you can keep the hoop going on all parts of your thigh. So, get comfortable with hooping around your butt, which means you'll see that I kind of have to, I'm lifting it up, I'm lifting my butt up, and kind of moving in a circular motion like this, where when, just like with anything else, you want whatever part the hoop is hitting, to like pump up. So as it comes around my ass, I'm gonna like booty bump this thing right here. So spin, do whatever, and you want to try and see if you can get it around your thighs, just below your butt, and keep it going there. You may not be able to do this initially, but really work on that, trying to get it all along your thighs. It's going to make it so much easier to bring up when the time comes to do that. So anyway, the other way, obviously, of doing this is just to stop until it gets to your knees, and then you have to really like kick at it. I think it's a smoother transition to try and go down as you're turning, and it goes a little bit slower. So now you're at your knees. The way that I generally teach knee hooping for people who have never done it before is to start with your legs together. I'm going to bend this down just a little bit. Okay, so knees together, and you're going to be doing kind of a like mermaid like thing like this, just pumping your knees back and forth. And you're going to have to do this pretty quickly. So you'll see I'm just kind of doing this. And that will get you, try to keep that as long as you can. And you can try to turn a little bit too as you're doing it. It's kind of awkward, but really that's going to get you in the motion of moving your legs the way you have to do. So now you'll see that my right leg has started to separate just a little bit from them being close together. And this is called your pusher leg. So when you're knee hooping, what's basically going to happen is your legs are doing this kind of thing, and then your right leg, if you're hooping to the left, is going to separate just a little bit. They're both still doing this, but your right leg is going to start moving just a little bit more and pushing. So as the hoop comes around and it hits your right leg, you want to push that leg out. And if you come back here, and you can't see, I will just do this a little bit. Okay. So you'll see my feet are kind of are coming up like this. And that's kind of the motion. So you're doing this. Your heels maybe leave a little bit. As you start to separate and use your right leg a little bit more, this is going to really start to come off the ground here. So in addition to all of that, continue turning. It's going to help you. You have your one pusher leg that you start to use. What you want to do is get comfortable with feeling the hoop as it comes around this part of your leg to be moving your knee in small circles. So it's still going to be doing this, but you want to just circle it a little bit so that it makes it a little smoother and it guides the hoop around. So it's going to come around here, I'm going to push with my leg over right here, and it's going to come back here, and then once it hits back here, I'm pushing out with this leg, and then it comes around and I'm pushing. So you end up kind of with a little bit of a both legs pushing. And this is, I think, your ideal situation with knee hooping. Obviously, you can do it any other way that you want to, but I think that using both legs is probably the easiest thing because it's kind of a little bit like walking. So what I generally end up doing is spinning in circles. I use my right leg in small circles like this to push. The back of my right leg is also pushing when it hits the back. And then eventually, as I start to get more comfortable and I can open my legs up and walk around, I'm using the outside part of my right leg to push around as it comes around here, and then as it comes around here, I use the outside of my left leg to come out like this. And if you were to go in the other direction, it would be the same thing. I'm really not good at it yet, still practicing. But yeah, as you can see. So, so really, I think if you can get to the point where you're comfortable, you're slowing down, and you're kind of doing this little like walking thing with both legs, turning, kind of, and using both legs to manipulate the hoop rather than just standing still and just using your pusher leg, because that's when you're gonna probably build up a lot of anxiety and be like, oh God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm just stuck here and I can't get it up. But you kind of relax. You see, I kind of have to move my ass too. It's a little bit of a a move in itself. So this, I think, also helps in getting more comfortable with hooping around the thighs. So as you're doing this, you might notice that the hoop starts to come up a little bit on your legs. And at that point, I would say try to keep it there. Try to bring it up, whatever. But really, as I was saying before, get comfortable with hooping on the thighs. It's going to make it a lot easier to bring it up. So now back to knee hooping and taking one leg out. Basically, when you take a leg out and put it back in, you need to utilize the inside space of the hoop to make sure that your leg doesn't hit anything or doesn't hit the hoop, and that you can get it out and be on your one leg. So the trick with this is balance. So I would honestly recommend getting used to doing this and bending your leg, because it may not seem difficult, but it is pretty hard to keep that balance. So essentially what you're doing is, when you take a leg out and you have it going on one leg, which it may be easier for some of you to just start by practicing by letting it go on one leg and trying to do this. That may not be easier for some of you, but for me in the beginning it was, to like get the feel for how it feels to hoop on one leg. Really just kind of the same thing that you're doing before. The leg is doing one of these kinds of things, but in this situation my foot is firmly planted, and you'll see that my leg's just kind of going like that. So bringing the hoop out, or bringing your leg out of the hoop. Really, you want to kind of get it as slow as you can, and do it after you have just done a rotation and pushed with your pusher leg. So I usually get the hoop going kind of fast so that it has momentum for my left leg. And then, there we go, take it out. It honestly takes a bit of practice to get to where you can take your leg out. Wait a minute. Was I just doing that one? Yep. Alright. Okay, luckily I didn't start teaching that. Okay, so basically your left leg is going to be the one that comes out. You're hooping to the left. So, yeah, as I did say before, you want to get momentum and build it up with your right leg. And when there's a space on your left side, that's when you want to take your leg out. So, I don't know what the best angle would be to do this way. Here we go. And then just practice trying to keep it going. Don't worry about trying to do any fancy leg shit. Just try to keep it going. Because that's going to be a bit of a challenge initially. And you're probably just going to have to get used to trying to pull it out, and be ready for it to not work too well too, because this is a really, really difficult thing to master. So, like I said, you want to have that space going on the side, and then just the same way as you need that space to bring it out, you need the space to put your leg back in. So the trick is to have the hoop slowed down. So I have it on one leg and I'm going on one leg. It's really hard to keep my balance, okay? And when I see that there's some space, oh, here we go. Okay, when I see that, when I see that there's space on the right, I am going to try and stick my foot in really quickly, and continue doing this. So I see that there's 1, 2, 3, down. What happens for me, that I think is how I learned, is that I started to count the rotations, 1, 2, just like this, getting used to that, and then it was a little bit easier for me to time putting my leg back in. But this, just like taking a leg out, is going to take some time. But try to stick it in close as you can to your right leg. And then immediately start, with your legs together, do your walk, whatever. The other thing is, which I think I'll make another tutorial for, is, so say, this comes down here and you need to bring it up. When you can master bringing your leg back in and a kickstart, you can save yourself like 100% by that. Which I'll do a kickstart tutorial for another video, because that's something entirely different. And we're just gonna go for knees right now. But yeah, so say you can do this no problem, you got it out, but you're having some difficult time figuring out how to get your leg back in. So that was me 100% back when I started. And what I kind of learned there's a couple of different things that I kind of started doing to kind of, I don't know, get out of leg hooping when I didn't know what to do. So, here I am out here. What you can do is stomp down and then bring your leg around. So basically, this kind of follows the opposite rule of putting your leg back in. Is you want to put your leg down when the hoop is on the other side. So I'm on one leg hooping. When the hoop is over here and it's touching the inside of my thigh, that's when I put my leg down, and I immediately put my leg down and then bend my leg like this so that the hoop, which was right here, stand, bend, gets caught in my leg. I'll do a turn and then grab it out. That can be difficult, but I know a lot of people have a lot of success with that when they don't know what else to do, how to get out of that. And that's something to definitely play with too, making it look really beautiful, because it can be really awkward or it can look really good. Just work on finessing it. I'm still working on finessing it. The other thing, which I can do a tutorial for, this is a Babs trick. Actually, I would recommend just watching her video. You're on one leg to do this kind of thing, which can slow it down and get it going again for you to keep going. But watch Babs' tutorial, because that one's actually really good and how I learned. The other thing you can do is, if you're on one leg, you can do it like this, which is essentially, you have, you're hooping on one leg, and what you're going to do, just like in a vortex, where your hand's back here and you're grabbing it and you're bringing it up, basically, so get comfortable with hooping around your knees, and then reaching down and grabbing up, which really what works for me the best is to just be put my leg down here until it hits the hoop, and then spin and like come up. And then with the one leg, it's just kind of an added step of going like that and then spinning and bringing it down. It's really easy to kind of lose control if you're trying to keep, this going. So don't forget that you can slow down and just grab the hoop and stop. You always have the option of grabbing the hoop and turning it into an isolation. You always have that option, so don't worry about, it can get fast and scary and momentum building up, but you can always just stop it and hold it when you have that strength. So don't forget that. That's a huge thing that can really help you when you're stressing or you're panicked, because the hoop's going really fast and it's out of control and you don't know what to do. Okay, so since this is now 18 minutes, I'm going to hurry up, finish this tutorial. Basically, okay, we're going to start with bringing the hoop up from the knees. So we've learned how to take the leg out, putting it back in the pocket, and getting back here. Now, to bring it up, if you have gotten comfortable hooping on your thighs, this is really where it's going to come in handy, because once you can get, you have that little pocket on your knees, right above the knee bone where it kind of comes in. That's where you want your knee hooping to be. But if you can get comfortable getting up a little bit more, so it's up here, then you just got to get past your butt, and then you're already up here, So practice that, but aside from all of that, you'll kind of see right now that the way that I have to do this is when the hoop comes around to your thigh, you have to push the thigh up, just like with shoulder hooping. So just like with shoulder hooping, you stick your arms in and you're using each shoulder, it hits one arm and you lift up, it hits the other arm and you lift up, then you're up to your shoulder. It's kind of the same thing with the legs. You want to essentially allow the hoop to grab your leg, and then you have to it's kind of like belly dancing. You kind of have to isolate your hip, bring it up so that when it was down here before and hits it, and you bring it up like this, then it's going to hit your other thigh on a higher place than it would have if you had just continued going. So it would be down here. So now we're hitting here, coming up, and now the hoop's up here. So then we're going to come around, then it's going to get around here. I'm going to duck my hips down and bring them up so that it hits up here. So that's kind of a slow, like a slowed down version, but you'll see that you kind of have to do one of these things. So spinning around obviously helps a ton. But it's really just a kind of move that takes a lot of finesse and takes a bit to get down. So let me do it from different sides. Yeah, it's kind of a like, it's like a dip and like pull up. But, you know, like I said, get comfortable on your legs and butt and thighs. And it can probably help you a ton with learning to bring the hoop back up. So that's it. Look out for Kickstart tutorial and you know, hooping down on your calves, shins, whatever, soon. And I really hope that this helped. You know, if you're still having difficulty with whatever, you know, let me know and maybe I can help you out. But this is a pretty comprehensive lesson, so hopefully you're able to get something out of it. Yeah, so good luck.